Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am all about the fabulous Nests of Winter Suite from the Stampin' Up! 2024 Holiday Mini Catalog. Now, this suite is one that we actually, as demonstrators, had the opportunity to pre-order way back in the summer. And I did. I ordered it because, when you get the opportunity to order early, you do it. And then, of course, it sat for months because I just didn't have time to get around to playing with it. So it wasn't really until, well, just a couple of weeks before the catalog launched that I had the opportunity to start playing with it. And oh my goodness, it's such a great suite. So many possibilities, super versatile. I'm going to show you 3 projects today, 1 fall and then 2 Christmas projects. And then I have a whole bunch of others to share with you as well. Okay, so lots and lots of good inspiration coming up today. I also, while folks are coming in, want to remind you of a couple of things that are happening right now. So first of all, the sort of time sensitive one is our stamp sale. So happening now through end of business or through midnight Mountain Time tomorrow. We have 15% off all stamp sets from the annual catalog. Now, unfortunately, this one is from the mini, so it does not qualify for the sale. However, there are so many awesome stamp sets in the annual catalog. I may or may not have a few on my order that I'm going to be closing out later this evening. But if you have a wish list of stamps that are in the annual catalog, this is a great time to pick them up at 15% off. So that's number 1. The second thing that I need to remind you of is an awesome starter kit promotion that's happening right now. So during the month of October, you get to choose $206 Canadian worth of products of your choice, and they ship to you for just $135. So it is free shipping on the starter kit, and in most Canadian provinces, not all, but most, there is no tax on the starter kit as well. So if you have been sort of sitting on the fence, thinking about maybe checking out what it means to be a demonstrator and how fabulous our community is, I would love to chat with you about joining my Stamping Symphony. We have such a great group of gals and we have a lot of fun together. Many of them will join in here shortly, I have no doubt. So if you are in Canada and you are, thinking about maybe joining a community of stampers, we would love to have you at the Stamping Symphony. All right, that is my sales pitch. I just wanted to put those out there because I keep forgetting to talk about them. I get stamping and then all the other stuff kind of flies out of my head. It's all about the creativity. But let me see who has joined us here. Oh, we got lots of people coming in. Okay, Jeannie K was at Costco shopping for Christmas. Yep, they've got Christmas stuff out. I was actually in HomeSense, which is our Canadian, for our American friends, it's our Canadian version of Home Goods, last week, and they were literally shoving all the fall and Halloween stuff over onto one shelf so they could make way to put the Christmas stuff out. So 'tis the season for sure. All right. Hi, Diana. Hi, Charlie and Julia. Suzanne, welcome, welcome. Hi, Gail. Hi, Julie. Hi, Alexina. And Sharon from Winnipeg. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Krista and Louise. The gang's all here. All right, we are going to get to it. Enough chit chat for me. Let's flip to my desk view here and we'll have a look at the product. Ooh, that looks a little blurry today. Hang on, let me go back to me and I'm going to see if I can give my camera lens a little bit of a clean here. Sometimes it gets gooped up as I carry it around with me and things get a little fuzzy. So let's see if that helps any. All right, let's go back to my desk view here. That's a little bit better. Okay, so here we go. This is the suite. We have a bundle, we have an embossing folder, we have beautiful DSP and some embellishments. So I had a couple people that were saying, oh, I'm waiting to get this suite. It's not available right now. And that technically is true. The suite item number is not orderable right now. And that's because these little guys are not available. So when one item from a suite is not orderable, then the entire suite collection number, that single item number, becomes unavailable. But all of the bits and pieces can still be ordered individually. So you can still order the bundle, you can order the twine, you can order the embossing folder, you can order the paper. You just can't get these guys right now. These are supposed to be back in stock in a couple of weeks. Okay, so first of all, of course, we have this gorgeous bundle. Now I have to say this background die is the one that sold me on this bundle. I absolutely love it. I love the little pine branches and all the things you can do. There's a couple extra little pine sprigs there as well. We've got some open dies to cut out our stamped birdies. And then this one is kind of cool. I'll show you at the end a project where I layered. This is a branch that layers on top so you can have like a brown branch and green leaves, or you could make pussy willows, so brown and ivory. So lots of possibilities with that cute little die as well. It kind of mimics this little stamped image. Okay, so that's the bundle. And then we have the birchwood embossing folder. You're going to see that on the first project we're going to make today. I love this embossing folder. It adds just a beautiful, subtle bit of texture to your projects. And I'll talk about these because they're on top. So as I said, these little guys are currently out of stock. They are the Earth Tone Shimmer Gems, but should be back within a week or so. And then we have the Natural Tones Linen Thread. So this was out of stock for a while, but it is back. So if you have been waiting, you can now get your hands on it. I'm just going to move that over a little bit so it's a little bit brighter. So we have Garden Green, Night of Navy, and Copper Clay. I have to say I've used the Copper Clay the most because I've been working on fall projects, but the Garden Green is a close second for Christmas. And then we have the gorgeous DSP. Love this paper. Lots of patterns, not just seasonal patterns, right? They work for just about any time of year. So we've got Pussy Willows, perfect for the spring. We've got our little poplar forest with our itty bitty birds in there. These birds, all of these guys can be cut with the dies. So both of the bird dies will coordinate with this, so you can cut them all out. We have this one, which I love, and I've been doing lots of fussy cutting. I'll show you a couple of projects where I've used little bits from this pattern. This one I've used so much of, I don't have a full sheet. This is a 6x6 sheet that you can cut your panels from, right? So you can get your 4x6 panels. And then the other side has these itty bitty birdie feet. I don't know if you can see that little bird protracts, super cute. And then we have this one. You're going to see some of these fussy cut images on our project today as well. And then when we flip over, this I think is my very favorite sort of snowfall pattern DST we've ever had, because it kind of gives you that depth. It's got that sort of blurred bokeh effect in the background, and then the more defined sort of snow in the foreground. I just love this paper. And then we've got Garden Green Stripe. I've already showed you the little birdie feet. We've got this sort of check in Pool Party. We've got little bitty Queen Anne's lace, and look at these teeny tiny little sparrows in here. They're easy to miss if you're kind of looking at it from a distance. You just see the larger Queen Anne's lace image, but then when you look closely, you see all those little bitty sparrows. And then of course our birch pattern, which you are going to see on the first card we make. So that is the beautiful DSP. So let's get all of this out of the way and get to some stamping. Oh, we've had lots more coming in. Hi, welcome everybody. I'm glad you can join me today. All right, so this is the first card we're going to make, and I have taken some of that birch pattern DSP and embossed it using the birchwood embossing folder. So if I hold it close, you can see the texture in there? It might be, no, it's not. I thought it might be easier to see on the back, but it's easier to see on the front. Now we are going to add some color to this because we have to remember that DSP is paper and we can stamp on it, we can color it, we can ink blend on it, we can do all the things that we do on cardstock on our DSP. So we are going to experiment a little bit. When I made this card front, I actually ink blended some pecan pie ink onto the DSP before I embossed it. I didn't want to do that on live camera because it's just faster to have it embossed ahead of time. I'm always about getting through my 3 projects in 45 minutes or less. So we may end up with a slightly different look than this, but that's okay. It'll be interesting to see and compare the two. So I'm just going to come in with a little bit of pecan pie ink, and we are going to add some color to that birchwood sort of pattern DSP. So by adding the ink, of course, it's no longer birch, right? Looks more like, I don't know, some other darker bark texture. I'm not really up on my trees. Let's say it's a maple tree or an oak tree or a poplar. I don't know. Someone who's a little bit more up on their trees can tell me what this bark might look like. So I'm just coming around and I'm adding some of the pecan pie ink. And what that is doing is it's bringing out the embossed texture. Now, as I said on my sample, I did this step before I embossed, so it's going to look a little bit different than my sample. We have a little bit more pronounced texture on this one, I think, is what the result is going to be. But you never know. We're just going to play with it and see what happens. All right, so that's looking pretty good with my pecan pie. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with some early espresso cherry wood. Yeah, I like that one, Felicia. Thank you. That's a good thought. Okay, so I'm going to come in with some early espresso now, and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to go all the way or quite as heavy-handed. I'm going to be heavy-handed around the edges because I want my edges to be nice and dark. But as I go across the cardstock, or the DSP rather, I'm not going to press quite as hard because I don't really want to bring out much more of that embossed texture because it's already quite pronounced from the pecan pie. So we'll just kind of come across here. I'm doing the edges first, and then I'm going to come across the whole panel. When you are blending ink onto an embossed panel, you want to make sure you go in a circular motion in both directions. That's to make sure you're hitting both edges of the raised image. If you only go in one direction, you won't get both sides of the image. All right, a little bit more. Oh, I'm liking that. Okay, so now I'm going to come across really lightly, and I'm kind of going, just rubbing it back and forth, because I want to hit that raised image a little bit, but I don't want to lay a whole bunch more color down. Ooh, I like that. So you can see by embossing first, I got a little bit more pronounced texture than I got on my sample, which I inked first. So let me hold that up so you can see the difference. Can you see the difference in the texture there? All right, let's add some layers. Now, I was very hesitant to cover up this beautiful embossed texture, but I love the wood grain DSP, and I felt like it really worked with the vibe of this card. So this is just a piece of the Country Woods designer series paper, and I've die cut it using the Deckled Circles dies. So we're going to go ahead and glue that onto our beautiful birchwood panel there. And I'm putting it a little bit towards the top, not quite in the middle, a little bit towards the top. And I always find when I'm gluing onto an embossed panel, I like to flip my panel over and just burnish from the back. That helps me not squish my embossing quite so much. Okay, and then that is going to get glued onto an early espresso card base. All of my card bases have the same dimensions today. So it's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we'll just go ahead and fold that along our score line. And add a little bit of glue. And we're going to pop this on this way. Get that nice and centered. And again, I'm going to fold this over and burnish from the back. This is also a really great tip for if you have inky or sticky gluey fingers and you're worried about messing up your card front, turn it over and burnish from the back. And then you don't run the risk of smudging anything on the front. Okay, so I've already stamped and die cut my little birds. These are stamped in Memento black ink because, well, we're going to color with our Stampin' Blends. So my color palette is light and dark pecan pie. Actually, I think I only use the light now that I'm thinking about it. I use the light pecan pie for the branch. The light wild wheat is for the beak of the birds. The light and dark Cajun Craze are for the berries, and then light and dark gray granite for the birds. Okay, so I'm going to start with my light gray granite. I'm going to do one bird at a time. Anytime you're coloring with your blends, you don't want to color too much before you start blending, because what can happen is your first layer can dry out and then you don't get as nice of a blend. So you kind of want to work in segments when you're working with Stampin' Blends. So I'm just going to lay down a layer of the light. Again, I'm not being super careful because I'm going to be blending this out in a minute. This is just to put a base layer down. And then I'm going to add a little bit of shadow with my dark. So we're going to shadow under the wing, sort of around the bum, and then around the belly here. Let me add a little bit there. I'm just kind of following the hash marks on the stamped image. And then again, I'm going to come in with the light, and this is where I'm going to be a little bit more careful to make sure I'm not leaving any white spaces. I want to blend that out really nicely. And I tend to start over the dark ink and pull that out. And I find that gives me the best result when I'm blending. And we'll come down here, get the tail. And there we go. There's birdie number 1. All right, birdie number 2. We're going to fill, whoops, I almost got the branch there. Branch we're going to do in a different color. So we're just going to fill him in really quickly. You do want to be careful around the eye on this guy, just because we don't want to color that life light, right? We want to keep that little white speck in the eye white, because that gives us makes them look lifelike. And then again, I'm just going to add a bit of shadow here, a bit around the belly, just like that. And then again, we'll blend it out. So there are so many color possibilities with these birds. I mean, I think they could be made to look like cardinals quite easily using reds and dark gray. The black, I did try using black to create a cardinal with these, and I found the black just hid too much of the detail because our black blends are very dark. So I would stick with the dark basic gray if you're wanting to make a cardinal. All right, so there are our little birdies. We're going to get their beaks with our light wild wheat. There they are. And then our branch, I'm going to use light pecan pie. Oh, you know what? This might be dark. That's okay. Doesn't matter. It's a little bit darker wood branch than my sample. Brown is brown, right? Oh, I'm going out of the lines. I'm trying to be too quick. There we go. And then these little guys here, you just want to add a little bit of color because they look, I tried not coloring them and they didn't work. It looked kind of odd. So I just added a little hint of color there. And then our berries, I'm going to color all of the berries with light Cajun Craze. Tell me this is light. Yes, okay. I should really look at my markers before I start coloring with them just to make sure I'm using the right color. So we're going to fill this in. Hi, Peggy. Yes, Felicia, that's a great idea. Using a white gel pen for the eyes works really well as well. I just figure if the stamped artist has given us the life light, I may as well just color around it and keep it there. Save me adding more afterwards. But yes, the white gel pen or even a white watercolor pencil works quite well as well to add that little bit of life to your stamped images. So I'm being really quick and dirty with these little berries here. Probably not doing the best job filling them in, but I'm more interested in I should have done these berries ahead of time. They take a minute to color them all. And then I'm just going to come in with my dark and just kind of fill in the little indentation on the berries, just to make sure they look nice and realistic. We actually have berries on the tree outside of our front window right now that are pretty much this exact color. That was my inspiration for this one. All right, done with our coloring. Now we need to do a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to pull out my label here, drop all these other little bits. So this is a label cut using the Nested Essentials dies. These are an online exclusive die. One of my go-to dies. I use them all the time. We are going to stamp the sentiment from the what are they? Winterly Treetops. I think that's the name of the stamp set. I should know this. Yes, I should. Winterly Treetops, yes. We're going to stamp that sentiment in early espresso ink right on our label. And we're going to cross our fingers and hope that it's straight, because I did not mount my stamp straight, I noticed as I was stamping. All right. Hi, Jackie. Welcome. I'm glad you are able to join me today. All right, so I have some maple leaves here. Well, I had to do maple leaves because I am Canadian, and they're die cut from the Autumn Leaves dies. Okay, so these were my go-to fall dies last year. They're still current. I haven't used them nearly enough this year, so I had to pull them out for this project. This little branch is from the die set. So it's this little guy here. And instead of using the coordinating die, I'm actually going to use this little branch to adhere some maple leaves. So I'm just going to add a little smidge of glue, and I'm going to trim off my stem on my leaf, just like that. And then we're going to adhere our little die cut stem to our maple leaf, and that's going to give us the look of leaves on a branch, right? This one we're going to overlap, so I need a little bit of seal. I'm not going to use liquid glue. There are slits cut in these leaves, and if you use liquid glue on them, they do sort of ooze the glue, so it's not the best. Not the best situation. All right, so we are going to adhere our little maple leaves to the back of our bird. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of seal. We're kind of just tacking these all together. When we go to glue this on the card, everything is going to kind of come together and get adhered with dimensionals. So that'll hold everything together. We're going to add our sentiment. So what I did is I tucked my birds in behind because I didn't want to cover up my words. So I kind of adhered it that way. So I'm just going to put a little bit of seal on the back of my label. And then we're going to tuck the birdie's tail in behind. And that's just going to kind of sit like that. I'm going to add a little smidge of glue here to make sure that that sticks. So whenever I'm doing these little arrangements, I tend to do all my arranging first, put everything together, and then add it to the card. I don't know, that's just how my brain works. I know it's kind of an oddball way of doing it, but that's just how I roll. I don't know, that's how I see things. I kind of work from the front to back, if that makes sense. So we're going to tuck another little maple leaf here. Now this is going to go onto our card. We're going to add the last maple leaf at the end. But first, let's put some dimensionals on the back of this. Nested Essentials is in the annual catalog. Oh, Mia, I missed that. How did I miss that? Well, it is easy to miss things in the annual catalog this year, but I can't believe I missed the fact that Nested Essentials are in there. Thank you for pointing that out. That's very good news. All right. Adding just a couple of minis. Actually, I'm going to do one more big one here behind this chubby bird. And we'll get rid of our backings. Yes, I kind of went overboard with the dimensionals, but that's okay. And then this is going to get sort of centered on our circle. Okay, now I am going to, well, not centered. I should mention, I am going to have my branch kind of touching the edge of my card. That's just to anchor this a little bit. Okay, and make sure we're straight here. There we go. Okay, so by adding the dimensionals and sticking it down on my card, now everything's secure after we just tacked things in place initially. This last little leaf is going to go on with another dimensional. I'm going to add just a smidge of seal where it's going to overlap my label. We'll tuck that on there. And then we're going to tie us a bitty bow. So I have some of that fabulous linen thread. This is, it says it's copper clay, but honestly, I think it's closer to Cajun Craze. I have used this more with Cajun Craze than I have with copper clay, but it does work with both, so all is good. So we're just going to make a cute little bow here. We'll trim off our roll, and then to glue this, I'm going to take half of a glue dot. So I'm just going to take and cut one in half there, roll it into a little glue booger. And I'm putting it right on the stem of my leaf here, and then we're just going to press our bow into that. And I just want to angle it so I'm not covering up my words. There we go. And then our last touch, I have very few. I have a new pack. You saw the new pack, but this is the last of my original pack of these shimmer gems. So we're going to use those up before we open a new pack. I'm going to add a few of these guys. Let's put this one up here. There we go. And there is our finished card. You like that one? All right. And here on the inside, I just added a basic white panel, stamped and colored some more little birds. I left it without a sentiment. I tend not to include sentiments in my thank you cards, but you certainly could add one if you wanted to. All right, so that is number one. Done and done. Let's clear some space here. so that we can get on to number 2. So we've done fall. Now we're moving on to Christmas. So for those of you that aren't ready for Christmas, you may need to log off now. I don't want to traumatize anybody by starting Christmas too soon, but this set is fantastic for Christmas. This next card actually doesn't use the birds at all. So this image here, this sort of spray, when you put them together, can look like a wreath. Isn't that just a great festive card? So let me show you how easy it is to put this one together. This one's going to go really quick because I've done most of my coloring in advance. So to start, I have a 4 by 5¼ inch piece of basic white cardstock, and you can see I've embossed it using the Distress Tile embossing folder. So to that, we're going to add a little bit of this fabulous black and very vanilla ribbon. I'm still mourning the loss of my black and white check ribbon, gingham ribbon that we had last year and a couple years now. It was one of my favorite ribbons. So this is filling the gap somewhat. I just like the narrower width of the other ribbon, the retired stuff. But this one works in a pinch. So I'm just laying a piece across and securing the ends with some glue dots. Then we're going to go ahead and glue that onto a shaded spruce mat. It is 4 1/8. Let me just get these guys out of the way here. 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So we'll go ahead and add a little bit of glue to our embossed panel, and then pop that onto our shaded spruce one with our itty bitty border. Okay, and then that is going to get glued onto our real red card base. Same dimensions as the last card, so 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I should again mention that all of the measurements for all of the projects I'm making today are in the video description. So you will probably have to click see more and then scroll a little bit to get to them, but they are there. That is always the case. I always include dimensions every time I do a live, so that if you see something you like, you can recreate it quickly and easily. Okay. All right. Oh, Charlie's going to go start another load of laundry. Perfect. So you don't have to watch the Christmas cards. Okay. So as I said, I've already done most of the coloring, but I did want to show you the colors that I use to color this in festively. You could certainly use fall colors and make a fall wreath as well. But for these leaves that are closest to the berries, I'm actually going to flip to my bullet tip because my brush tip is quite frayed on this one. This is dark granny apple green. I like how bright and cheerful this green is, and it does work quite nicely for Christmas cards. I feel like granny apple green and shaded spruce were kind of made for each other. They're two colors that just work really well together. So that is that. And then these other larger leaves that are farther down, I used light shaded spruce. So this one I can use my brush tip on because it is still in pretty good shape. So we're just going to fill those in with the light. Sorry about the sniffles. Everybody at school is sick right now. It's kind of crazy. One of my trumpet players in my band is down with COVID. And interestingly, the 2 flute players who sit in front of him are also off sick. So yeah, the germs are flying free and fast at school. Now, I've been talking, and I should mention, I am using dark shaded spruce to color these narrow leaves. These ones you do need to be a little bit careful with because they are quite narrow. It really just takes one pass of the marker tip to shade them in. And I'm trying to be super careful while also not looking directly down onto my piece, which is always a challenge when doing live video. And a couple more over here. I'm actually glad I did most of this ahead of time. You guys would be snoozing watching me do all this coloring. Last ones. There we go. And then for the berries, I'm using dark real red. So we'll just fill in the last couple of these. I like it better when I can fast forward this boring coloring stuff. Can't fast forward live video though. All right, there we go. Deb likes watching me color. All right, you should hang out in my studio, Deb, because I do a lot of it. All right, so we're going to take our two sprays and we are going to kind of center them on our card front. This copper label, this is cut using the Greetings of the Season dies, and I've cut it from the textured copper metallic cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of put my label on here so I can get an idea of where I want to position my little sprays. I don't want to cover up too much of them, but I also don't want them floating. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add a bit of glue to these guys and pop them on. So there's a one, and number two. So I'm just kind of paying attention to these little leaves to make sure that they kind of are opposite each other, and then I'll just kind of ensure that my pieces are aligned. Then I'm going to adhere my copper label right over top. So right in the center, I am going to use some seal for this because I'm going to be going over the ribbon. Liquid glue I find not so friendly with ribbon. And I'm making sure that my hole on my label here is to the left because I'm going to end up covering that with my bow. The holes are great if making tags, not so great if you're trying to create a label. All right, so this next label, this other one, is also from the Greetings of the Season dies. And where did I put my Memento Black? There it is. So I'm going to stamp my Season's Greetings just in some black ink. And I am going to do it a little bit to the right because I'm going to have my little arrangement of greenery there and my bow to the left. So there we go. And then I'm going to bring in my little sprig. So these guys are fussy cut from the DSP pattern that has all the small little birds. Okay, you're going to see some more samples that I've done some fussy cutting at the end. So I've just cut out a few little bits and bobs here. So we're going to just take a little bit of seal and we're going to tack these guys on. So there's my one and a little pine cone. Put that guy on there. And one more. Come on, seal, work with me. There we go. That one can go on top of there. So there are my pine cones. Oh, stuck it to my desk. And then that is going to get popped up. Okay, so that actually covers up the hole all by itself, but I like the bow. So we're going to add the bow because, you know, I like me a bow. She said to people who have been watching, and no, she likes bows. I have always liked bows. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of our backings here. And stick my finger for my pine cone. And then that is going to get centered on my copper label. And then I'm going to bring back my ribbon. Ooh, a little bit of ribbon. We're right at the end of the roll here. But I think that's just enough to tie us a bow. Let's see. So we're going to make our bunny ears. Left over right, around and through. And just the perfect amount of ribbon to make a cute little bow. Gotta love it when things work out that way. They don't always. But sometimes you get lucky. There we go. We'll trim our tails. And then that is just going to get tacked right where the ribbon and the copper label meet. So again, I'm just going to take a glue dot, press my knot into my glue dot, and press that into place. And then the last touch, oh, okay, we're going to, I don't have any, oh, you know what? I'm going to have to open my new pack of shimmer gems because I don't have any more white in that little scrappy bit that I have left. So we're going to open this up and we're going to use well, they're not white, they're kind of ivory, they're off white. But we're going to use some of these guys on our card here just to give it a little bit of sparkle. We'll pop this little guy right up there. And there we go. Done and done. You like that one? Now, did I do anything on the inside of this? Oh, I just stamped a sentiment. So wishing you a happy holidays. I should mention this sentiment is from the Greetings of the Season stamp set. So that bundle is an online exclusive. That one I'm sure of. And this is a great, this has actually been my go-to sentiment set this season because there's so many ways to mix and match. You can mix up the fonts. It is a great set. All right, that is number 2. Let's move on to number 3. Can I do it in 10 minutes? We shall see. This is a really quick and easy easel card. I think we can do it in 10 minutes because there's not a lot of stamping. So I love the cardinals. I love cardinals in general, but I love them for the holidays. And so I fussy cut some cardinals out of the DSP to make this card. So it's really quick and easy. It is an easel, so it stands up. I think this would be a great thing to include, like a family photo maybe in here. You could do whatever you like, but I think it would be a great, easy, quick Christmas card to duplicate. The only thing that's tricky is the fussy cutting. And if you like fussy cutting like me, it's not really tricky. Okay, so to start, here is that fabulous sort of background or frame die cut with the pine boughs. I'm just going to poke out a couple of the little bits here that didn't come out. So this is just cut from basic white cardstock. I cut the cardstock to 3.5 by 5, which is the actual dimensions of the die itself. And that gives me a perfect frame all the way around. Okay, so that is that. Yes, Alfie, you could absolutely tuck a gift card in there for sure. And then I have cut a piece of that fabulous sort of snowfall DSP, the same dimension, so 3.5 by 5. So we're going to layer those. Okay, now I have to say, I did try using adhesive sheets with this particular die cut. They're a little bit of a pain in the bum, honestly. And you know me, I am a huge fan of adhesive sheets. I am all about them. Whenever possible, I use them. But I found they really made it difficult to get the negative out of the center of this die cut. I fought with it for quite some time. It did eventually happen, but if you are not a patient person, I would suggest just sticking with some liquid glue. With this one, just skip the adhesive sheets. Just trust me. There were more than a few times that I kind of wanted to pitch the whole thing out the window. All right, now I find it easiest to glue this by actually putting my DSP on top. I just find it's hard to pick it up once you've got glue on there, and you end up with gluey fingers, and you know, who wants sticky fingers? So we're just going to lay this right over top, matching up the edges, and then I can flip it over and just make sure that everything, see, my edges are not quite matched up there, so I can adjust as needed. And then again, I'm going to turn it over and burnish it really well. Okay, so that's just a little tip to avoid getting super sticky fingers from the liquid glue, and make sure you get everything well adhered. Okay, all right, now that is going to get layered on a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock. This is 3 5/8 by 5 1/8. But first, we're going to add some of this gorgeous ribbon. This one is currently not available, due back, I think, in a week or two. And we're going to just add this right across the front. Look at how gorgeous that ribbon is. Oh, so pretty. I can totally see why it is out of stock. Well, I may be the reason, because, you know, I might have bought a roll or 10 for a couple of events I'm doing. So, but it will be back in stock soon. So again, I'm just going to add my ribbon to the front of my card here, or my panel. And then we're going to adhere that to our mat. So again, a little bit of glue here. And we'll pop that on. Just like that. Oh, my ribbon's crooked. There we go. All right, and again, I'm going to flip this over to burnish it. All right, we're going to set that aside for a moment, and we're going to work on our card base. So our card base, again, same dimensions, 5.5 by 8.5. And it's scored at 4 1/4, just like it normally is, but then there's an extra score line to make an easel at 2 1/8. Okay, so 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. So I'm going to start just by folding my card base in half like I would with any other card. And give it a good burnish. And then that 2 1/8 inch score line, I'm going to make a mountain fold. So I'm going to fold it inwards as well. Okay, and that is going to form our easel like that. Okay, all right, so now what we're going to do is glue our panel onto our card front. But again, we want to make sure that we're only putting glue where we want it, so that our card will still open up and stand as an easel. So I'm going to flip this over and get it centered to where I want it to go. And then I can see my score line where my easel goes. And I'm going to make sure I keep my glue toward the bottom or below that score line, because we only want to glue that bottom portion. Okay, and then we'll flip it back over, and we can go ahead and glue and have confidence in knowing that our glue is in the right spot. So this frame doesn't give you an equal border on all sides. So you're going to match up side to side and top to bottom. They're going to be slightly different size borders. Okay, so that gives us our easel. Still pops up. We're all good. Now let's work on our focal image. So here are my little cardinals. Aren't they cute? Love them. All right, so that has been fussy cut from the DSP, and then I have the same label shape that I used for the copper label on the last card, but this time just cut from white cardstock. And again, I'm using the Greetings of the Season stamp set. I'm using sort of a block text Merry and a scripty Christmas. So anytime I'm doing this, I like to just start with the larger of the two. So Christmas is the larger. So I'm going to stamp this sort of towards the bottom right because I need room for my birds. Okay, so I stamped that in Cherry Cobbler ink. And then I'm going to come in with my black ink and I'm going to stamp Merry above it. And I'm going to do it a little bit off center because, again, I need room for my birds. We don't want to cover up our greeting by having it too far over. All right, so our little birds are just going to glue to that top left corner of our label. And again, I'm just kind of tacking these in place for a moment. Let's just make sure that we've got, yep, a little bit here. Come on. And it'll become more secure when we stick it down on the card. So we're just going to tack that on for now. Right about there. Aren't they happy little cardinals? So cute. And then that is going to get popped up on the front of our card. So let's go ahead and add some dimensionals. And again, this is going to make everything nice and secure so that nothing falls off. So we'll get rid of our backings. And we'll pop that onto our card front. Now I'm doing this, I'm not doing it perfectly centered, okay? I'm putting my label intentionally a little bit higher because I don't want to, I want my bow to kind of be at the base of that branch. I didn't want to cover up the cardinal's tail with a bow, right? So I'm going to put it there, all right? So speaking of bows, let's make one with this pretty, pretty ribbon. So here we go. Now with this satin ribbon, you do need to pull a really nice tight knot. The ribbon itself is really sheer, it's really slippery. And if you don't pull a nice tight knot, it'll flip on you as you're adjusting your loop. So you want a nice tight knot. We'll trim our tails. And then add a glue dot. And pop it on. Right about there. Get that nice and flat. That really wants to twist. We're going to tuck it under the label. That'll keep it flat. There we go. Woohoo! All right, last touch is some of these fun self-adhesive gold snowflakes. These are an online exclusive, still available. I ordered some more because I was almost out of them and I wasn't sure that they were still around. And lo and behold, they were. So we're just going to add this nice little touch of gold, a little bit of shimmer. And it's going to pull out the gold in our ribbon as well. And then to create our catch for our easel, because all easel cards need something to catch it, to hold it up, right? Otherwise it won't stay standing. We have here another piece of white cardstock. So this is, again, 3.5 by 5, and then a 1 1/4 by 5 inch strip of the DSP. So you could certainly make this into a pocket for a gift card. I love that idea, Alfie. I think that's a brilliant one. So if you were going to make that into a pocket, you would just put your glue around the outer edges. Actually, let's do that. Let's make it a pocket. So we're just going to put our glue around the outer edges and leave that inside edge open so that we can easily tuck a gift card in there. And then when we go to glue this into our card, again, because it has to catch, we're going to pop this up. So I have the edges of my dimensional sheet. This is what I save my edges for. Anytime I have large panels that I want to pop up, this is the perfect way to do it because you don't have to be futzing with a bunch of little bitty dimensional backings. So I'm just going to go all the way around the outside here. I'm going to grab a little bit of this one to finish it. There we go. And then we'll get rid of our backings. Come on. And then when I glue this in, remember how I said we don't have quite an equal border with the dimensions of this? So when I go to glue this, I'm actually going to glue it upside down, and I'm going to make sure I have an equal border on 3 sides. And that will give me a slightly larger border at the top, which will allow my easel to catch and stand. Okay, so there we go. Voila, easy peasy. And let's see if our gift card pocket works. Look at that. Perfect gift card holder. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Alfie, you're a genius. Thank you for that suggestion. All right, there we go. Quick and easy and done. Look at 5:45. Let me show you some more projects. Don't go away yet. I got lots to share. So I'm going to do this quickly because I think my dinner's here. So we're going to do this fast so I can eat my dinner while it's hot. Okay, this one I posted earlier today. This was one of the projects we made at my virtual launch and bingo event a couple weeks ago. Opens up like this. Great way to showcase the DSP. And then here's one I did where I fussy cut a bunch of little bitty birdies, chickadees, and waxwings, and I think this is a turtle dove, or maybe it looks like a mourning dove actually. Just fussy cut them and use them as the focal images on my card. And then, of course, I couldn't resist making a Christmas birdhouse with the country birdhouse dies. So again, lots of little images that I fussy cut from the DSP. And then, okay, let's do all Christmas together, and then I'll show you some other things. Here's another Christmas one. This, again, I just embossed the same DSP that we did on the first card, but I didn't ink it. So you can see a real difference, right? It's still got the texture, but it's a much different look. My little pine boughs here are from the vellum, the Graceful Greenery vellum. That's what it's called. And then here's another one. Of course, my birds are all die cut from the DSP. And here's another one with some itty bitty chickadees. I love this one with my frame again. And then some non-Christmas ones, because I did mention that the set is super versatile. So here is an example of where I've used that branch die and the little leaf die to create branches and leaves. Can you see that? There we go, but a little bit better lighting. And then here's one more. This was one I think we made, I want to say there was a demonstrator event, maybe Create Now, I think it was called, in the spring. And this is sort of my take on it. I did a little bit of a variation, but there we go. Lots of ideas with the fabulous Nests of Wintersweet. All right. You guys like these? Thank you so much, everyone. I'm glad you like them. All right, let me get back to me and say a big thank you for watching today. Thanks for joining me. If you are catching a replay, please let me know you were here. It's always nice to know who's watching and where you're watching from. So just let me know in the comments if you get a chance. All right. Thanks, everyone. For my Canadian friends, I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Our Canadian Thanksgiving is this weekend. I am very much looking forward to a 3-day weekend and gathering with friends and family on Sunday over turkey. So I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.